Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are here to transform complex strategic plans, critical research, and recent case studies into the actionable intelligence you need to master your field.
And today, we are really strapping in.
We are. We're tackling one of the biggest, most fundamental challenges any company faces when it tries to grow beyond its own borders: global marketing.
It really is the ultimate riddle of scale, isn't it?
Totally.
You can have this wildly successful brand in your home market, a K-beauty company in Seoul, a tech startup in Silicon Valley, whatever. But how do you take that winning formula and make it work in 50, maybe 100 different countries?
Without rewriting your entire playbook every single time.
And at the same time, making sure your product feels like it was made just for the local customer in, say, Brazil or Poland.
That's the balancing act. That's the core of it. On one hand, you have this huge financial pressure to keep everything the same.
Standardization.
Right. A consistent brand message, the same logo, and let's be honest, saving a ton of money on manufacturing. That's your global consistency.
But on the other side, you have this cultural mandate to change things.
You have to.
You have to localize the food, you have to adapt the software, you have to tailor the ads so they actually mean something to the person watching them. That's the local fit.
And the successful fusion of those two, that's what we're calling globalization.
Exactly. And the sources we're using for this deep dive are incredibly current. They're built on a really comprehensive capstone design project that looks at winning strategies between 2023 and 2025.
So this isn't just theory. We're looking at a playbook based on what's working right now.
Right now. And that fusion, that globalization, is harder than ever because the world is it's moving at warp speed.
Okay, so before we jump into the frameworks, let's nail down a proper definition. We say global marketing is planning and promoting products worldwide, viewing the entire world as one market. Where does the real strategic magic happen?
The magic is all in the execution. It's about keeping your core brand promise the same everywhere.
The promise of quality, or value, or luxury.
Right, that has to be consistent. But then you have to be just ruthless, really pragmatic about making small, smart changes to fit the local culture, the local laws, the local needs.
So you're leveraging that global scale to save money, but injecting just enough local flavor to make sure people actually buy it.
That's the game.
You mentioned the digital shift. Why is this so much more urgent today? I mean, we've had global brands for decades.
It's the speed. The velocity of trends has just completely changed.
Okay.
We have over 5 billion social media users now. A trend used to take years to cross an ocean. Now it happens instantly.
Right.
We saw it with K-beauty on TikTok. The sources show that related video views jumped from, 144,000 to over 500,000 in just the first half of 2023.
Wow.
When things move that fast, you just can't afford to be slow or get the local details wrong.
And if you get it right, the financial upside is enormous. We're not just talking about being a good global citizen. This is about serious business driver.
Oh, absolutely. This is tied directly to shareholder value.
So what are they?
Well, first is the economy of scale. That's the big one. Making more of the same thing means each one costs a lot less to produce. Simple as that.
Second, you build this powerful, unified, global brand name recognition.
The golden arches, the Apple logo. You see it anywhere in the world and you know exactly what you're getting. That's incredibly valuable.
Then the third?
This one gets overlooked a lot, but you spread out your financial risks.
So if one market has a downturn.
Exactly. If there's a recession in Europe or a political issue in one country, strong sales in Asia or North America can balance it out. It gives the whole company stability.
That sets our mission perfectly then. Over the next while, we are going to break down the DNA of this local strategy. We'll arm you with the two key tool sets for planning. That's the STP and PESTLE frameworks.
We'll also get into the often messy details of global pricing.
And then we'll tie it all together with some really specific current success stories from Korean brands that are absolutely crushing it with globalization right now.
Let's do it.
All right, let's start at the beginning. You have 3 strategic choices on the table: pure global, pure local, and this hybrid we're talking about, global.
Right. So the pure global approach is the simplest. It's the cheapest. It's all about standardization.
Same product, same message, everywhere.
Exactly. You maximize those economies of scale we talked about, but the risk is huge. You can completely alienate local customers if you don't meet their doubts.
Then on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have the purely local approach.
And this is maximum adaptation. You're
Yeah.
basically creating different products, different ads, different prices for every single country.
Which sounds great for the customer.
It is. It guarantees the best local fit. but it is incredibly expensive. Operationally, it's a nightmare, and you lose that unified global brand identity.
So that brings us to the middle ground, the winning strategy, globalization.
The think global, act local mantra.
I've heard that a million times, but what does it actually mean in practice?
It means you keep the core stuff the same. The brand promise, the core values, the main visual identity, that's your global anchor.
Ugh.
But you are surgically precise about the changes you make. The language, the cultural details, maybe a few product components. You only change what absolutely has to be changed to win locally.
Okay, this tension between what to keep and what to change,
Yeah.
that's where the real work is. Let's make this concrete with some famous examples. McDonald's is the classic.
It's the perfect case study. First, their global consistency is rock solid.
The golden arches, the store layout.
The promise of quick service, a certain level of quality, you see it, you trust it, no matter where you are in the world, it's familiar.
But they wouldn't survive if they didn't adapt the menu. And these aren't small tweaks, are they?
Not at all. This is a major operational commitment. You're talking new ingredients, new supply chains, retraining your entire staff.
Like the McSpicy paneer in India. That's a huge nod to the large vegetarian population.
Or the taro pie in China, tapping into a beloved local flavor. Or the McKimchi burger in Korea. They are literally integrating a national dish.
So they're spending a lot of money to deviate from their standard model, but it's essential for local survival.
It's a calculated investment.
What about a digital brand like Netflix? The adaptation is less physical, but just as important, right?
Absolutely. Their global consistency is the platform itself.
Same look, same feel, same recommendation engine.
Right. And that saves them billions in development costs. One platform to rule them all.
Okay, but let me push back on that a little. While the platform is consistent, the content is what drives the business. And the sources highlight the massive success of Korea's Squid Game.
Became their most watched show ever.
Right, but was that a black swan event? I mean, is that really a scalable strategy? Or does it just distract from how hard and expensive it is to create local hits in Indonesia or Germany or Brazil?
That's a really sharp question.
Yeah.
And no, the lesson isn't make the next Squid Game. That's not scalable.
So what is the lesson?
The lesson is that the global platform provides the distribution, and the local investment in content provides the relevance.
Oh.
They spend huge amounts producing local shows in India, Europe, Latin America, because the data is clear. Local content reduces churn and drives subscriptions way more than just relying on American shows, even if those shows never become global hits.
So it's about deep market penetration, not just finding the next global blockbuster.
Exactly that.
All right, let's pivot to a physical goods company that really feels this tension, IKEA.
IKEA is visually so consistent. The blue and yellow, the maze-like store layout, the Swedish product names, that's their global identity.
But the products themselves have to change.
They do. And this is a costly adaptation. They change the showroom layouts and even the product lines to match how people actually live.
So in Japan, where apartments are tiny,
They stock smaller furniture. They show kitchen layouts for very compact spaces. Compare that to the US, where people want these huge sectional sofas and big kitchen islands.
that must create massive supply chain complexity, stocking different couches for different regions.
It's a huge operational cost. But think about it. If they didn't adapt the furniture size for Japanese homes, they literally wouldn't sell a single couch. The cost of adaptation is the price of entry.
So even with these great examples, it's easy to get it wrong. What are the biggest pitfalls?
The number one reason for failure is ignoring the cultural and linguistic landmines.
It's more than just different holidays.
Oh, it's so much deeper. It's beliefs, customs, religious taboos, even how colors are perceived. What's totally fine in one culture can be deeply offensive in another. It can kill a brand overnight.
And the language barrier. It's not just about word-for-word translation.
No, you have to capture the meaning, the intent, the cultural subtext. If you miss that, you don't just have a typo, you have a PR crisis.
And the sources bring up the classic, unavoidable example of this.
The KFC mistake in China. It's the one everyone learns about in marketing school.
Their iconic slogan, finger licking good.
Got translated in a way that came across to the Chinese market as, well, the very unappetizing directive, eat your fingers off.
That is just so viscerally wrong. I can't even imagine being the marketing director who approved that.
It's horrifying. But the lesson is so profound. Culturally sensitive translation is not a luxury. It's not a final checkbox. It is a non-negotiable part of the strategy.
You have to invest in local experts who get the nuance.
And beyond culture, you're always dealing with the hard realities of local rules and competition. Every country has different laws on product safety, on labeling, on ingredients.
And you're up against local companies who've had a home field advantage for decades.
Right. So you need a structured, research-backed way to navigate all this. And that brings us to the foundations of planning.
Okay, we've seen the pitfalls, like that KFC disaster. So how do we systematically avoid them? How do we make sure our marketing dollars are spent in exactly the right place?
It all starts with research. And that research begins by defining precisely who you're trying to talk to.
Which brings us to the foundation of all marketing strategy, the STP framework.
Segmentation, targeting, and positioning. It's a roadmap. It takes the whole world of 8 billion people and narrows it down to the specific group you can actually serve and serve profitably.
So it answers 3 questions.
3 crucial questions. Who are my customers? Which of those customers should I focus on? And how do I convince them that I'm the best choice?
Let's start with the first step, segmentation. This is about splitting up that huge global market.
Right. You're splitting it into smaller, manageable groups of people who have similar needs or characteristics. The sources highlight 4 main ways to do this.
Okay, what's number 1?
The first is geographic segmentation. This is the most basic. You're just dividing the market by location.
Country, region, city versus rural.
Even climate. Think about a skincare company. They have to use this. They'll market much heavier, richer creams for a dry European winter versus light, non-oily formulas for the humidity of Southeast Asia.
And you see it with makeup, too. The skin tone palettes for Europe are completely different from those for Asia or Latin America.
100%.
Okay, what's the second type?
Number 2 is demographic segmentation. This is based on measurable hard data.
Age, income, gender, education.
Exactly. It's very popular for global marketing because this data is usually pretty easy to find and compare across different countries.
So if you're selling a high-end smartphone, you're looking for what, young professionals with high disposable income in growing economies?
That's the target.
Third.
This is where it gets more interesting. Behavioral segmentation. This is about what people actually do.
Their actions, not just who they are.
Right. Their buying habits, how often they use a product, their loyalty to a brand. This is so important because the same product can be used in totally different ways in different cultures.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Take coffee. In the U.S., it's often about a quick caffeine hit on the way to work. In Italy or Turkey, it's a slow social ritual.
So that completely changes how you would design a coffee shop or what size drinks you'd offer.
It changes everything.
But this seems really hard to measure globally. I mean, how do you track brand loyalty across 20 different countries with different data privacy laws?
That is the challenge. And you can't just use simple surveys. This is where big global companies rely on things like point-of-sale data from retailers and, of course, loyalty programs.
To get real quantifiable data on who's buying what and how often.
And when they can't get that, they have to turn to technology, like the AI-driven social listening we'll talk about later, to try and infer behavior from people's digital footprints.
Okay, and the fourth and final type of segmentation.
This is the deepest level. Psychographic segmentation. This gets into the why.
People's thoughts, feelings, lifestyles, values.
Exactly. Demographics tell you who buys, but psychographics tell you why they buy. It lets you create a real emotional connection.
But this has to be the hardest to standardize. A modern lifestyle means something completely different in Riyadh than it does in Rio.
It's incredibly difficult, but if you can crack it, it's where the most powerful marketing comes from.
So once you've sliced the world up into these different segments, what's the next step?
The next step is targeting. This is where you choose your battlefield. You have to decide which of those segments you're actually going to focus on.
You can't go after everyone.
No, you'll go broke. You have to be strategic to maximize your return on investment.
So what are the criteria you use to pick the winners?
Well, first is market size and growth. The segment has to be big enough to be worth the effort, and ideally, it's growing.
Like the growing middle class in many emerging economies.
A perfect example. So many young people with new disposable income. That's an ideal target for electronics or fashion brands.
What's the second criterion?
You have to assess the potential for making money and value. And this isn't just about the first sale.
You're talking about customer lifetime value, or LTV?
Exactly. How much will this customer spend with you over years? Do they buy again? And crucially, do they tell their friends? That friend-telling potential is gold.
And number 3 is the impact of personalization.
The data on this is just overwhelming. Our sources say 59% of customers say personalization directly influences what they buy.
So if you can tailor the message to a specific target, they're much more likely to become a repeat customer.
Much more. It's efficient. You stop wasting money talking to people who will never buy from you.
Okay. And the final factor in targeting?
It's a two-parter. Reachability and competition. First, can you actually get to this segment?
Through your existing marketing channels and distributors.
Right. And second, how tough is the competition? Is the market already saturated with huge, entrenched players?
Like trying to compete with Samsung in South Korea.
You'd better have a very, very good plan and a lot of money if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the smarter move is to find a less crowded niche.
So you've segmented the market, you've targeted your ideal customer. The final step of STP is positioning.
This is the grand finale. It's about creating a unique message and image for your product so that your target customer sees it as different and better than the alternatives.
It's the answer to the question, why should I buy you and not the other guy?
That's it, exactly. And there are three main ways to position your brand.
What's the first?
The first is functional positioning. This is probably the safest for global brands. It's all about what the product does.
The measurable features, the tangible benefits.
A phone with a better camera and a longer battery life. A car with better safety ratings. These practical benefits tend to translate well across cultures.
Okay, approach number 2.
Symbolic positioning. Now, this is the riskiest one globally. This is about status, identity, what the product says about the person who owns it.
Luxury goods, a fancy watch, an expensive handbag.
Exactly. It's selling an aspiration.
And this is where that cultural caution is so important.
It is absolutely essential. The definition of success or status is completely different everywhere. In some cultures, showing off your wealth is aspirational. In others, it's seen as vulgar.
So a symbolic message that works in New York could completely backfire in Tokyo.
And it often does. You have to be incredibly careful.
And the third, positioning strategy.
Experiential positioning. This is all about the feeling, the memorable interaction, the experience of using the brand.
So less about the product features and more about the community or lifestyle around it.
Right. Think of a brand that builds a strong online community or a store that's just a joy to be in. The purchase becomes about joining something, not just buying something.
Okay, so this whole STP framework.
Yeah.
It's a powerful tool, but it's completely useless if it's based on guesswork.
Utterly useless. The source material says going into a new market without research is like walking with your eyes closed.
You're just asking for trouble.
You need a foundation of facts to avoid those huge cultural and financial mistakes.
And that research breaks down into 2 main types.
Right. You have primary research, which is gathering brand new data yourself.
So running your own focus groups, doing surveys, observing customers in stores.
Exactly. It gives you very specific answers to your questions, but it's expensive and it takes a lot of time.
The other option is secondary research.
Which is using data that someone else has already collected. Industry reports from Nielsen, government trade statistics, academic studies.
It's faster, it's cheaper.
But it might not be specific enough for what you need. It's great for a first look at a market, though.
So once you have all this data, you need a way to organize it, a way to make sense of the entire external environment of a new country.
And that is where the PESTLE framework comes in. It is the gold standard for this. It gives you a structured way to look for opportunities and threats across 6 key areas.
PESTLE, let's break them down. What's the P?
P is for political legal. This covers everything from the stability of the government to trade, policies, taxes, tariffs, product safety rules.
And intellectual property protection.
A huge one. This factor alone can make or break your entry. Think about tariffs. A Korean company wanting to sell food in the U.S. might find their product is suddenly 25% more expensive because of a political decision.
Which is why, as the sources note, we're seeing some of those companies build factories inside the U.S.
It's a direct response to the political environment, a way to bypass those import taxes.
Okay, E is for economic.
This is the financial health of the market. GDP growth, inflation, currency exchange rates, and maybe most importantly, local income levels.
And this feeds directly back into your STP decisions.
It has to. If the average income in Germany is 10 times higher than in India, you simply cannot use the same pricing strategy or target the same demographic segment.
The economic reality forces you to completely rethink your positioning.
Right. A premium product in one country might need to be a mid-market product in another.
Next up is S for sociocultural.
This is the big one for avoiding those KFC-style mistakes. This is where you study family structures, religious beliefs, gender roles, core lifestyles.
Things that dictate what people buy, when they buy, and why they buy.
For example, a major shift in Asia has been the move away from large family-sized packs of food towards single-serving, convenience-focused products. That's a huge sociocultural shift that requires a complete product overhaul.
And you can see how these factors all connect. Economic growth might allow people to buy new tech, but sociocultural factors might dictate how they use it.
They're never in isolation. Which brings us to T for technological.
So, internet access, mobile phone usage, 5G coverage.
The whole tech infrastructure.
Yeah.
If you're entering a market like China where mobile payments are dominant, your entire sales process has to be built for that. But if you're in a part of Europe where cash is still king, you need a physical retail strategy.
And the last two letters.
L is for legal, which we bundled with political. So the final one is E for environmental.
And this is becoming more and more important.
Massively. This is about a country's green values, its regulations on pollution, its recycling habits.
Especially in Europe.
If you want to sell in many European countries, you often have to meet incredibly high environmental standards just to get your product on the shelf. It adds cost, but it can also be a powerful positioning tool if you market your brand as sustainable.
So Pestle gives you the complete 360-degree view of the landscape you're about to enter.
It's your map.
And luckily, we have better tools than ever to actually do this kind of large-scale analysis.
Thank goodness. The scale of this research has been totally transformed by AI and social listening. These are non-negotiable tools now.
They help you sift through just mountains of data, millions of online conversations.
Way faster than any human team could. And AI does more than just process the data. It finds the insights.
What are its key capabilities for a global marketer?
I'd say there are three critical functions. First is trend spotting. AI can pick up on emerging slang or new interest before they hit the mainstream. It gives you an early warning.
Second is understanding feelings in different languages.
This is so powerful. It can analyze sentiment across dozens of languages, so you can see if your brand is loved in Brazil but perceived negatively in Japan. This is the tech that helps you avoid those translation disasters.
And third,
Predicting what will happen. By analyzing past data, AI can start to predict future demand, helping you manage your inventory better around the world.
so tools like Sprout Social for listening or Google Trends for seeing search patterns, these become the eyes and ears of the global marketing team.
They ensure your strategy is based on real-time reality, not last year's report.
All right, let's switch gears and talk about the most direct financial lever you can pull, pricing.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
And setting a price in a new country is so much more than just cost plus profit. The sources really hammer this home. Price is a strategic message.
It absolutely is. The price tag is the first thing that tells a customer if your product is a luxury item, a good value, or just cheap. It shapes the entire brand perception.
And getting it right has a measurable impact.
A huge one. The data shows companies that actively optimize their pricing for local markets see their profits increase by 2 to 7%.
That is a massive incentive to put in the work.
It is.
So when you're setting that price, you're juggling three things: local buying power, your own costs like shipping and tariffs, and what your competitors are charging.
And that leads to the fundamental choice. One price for the whole world, which is simple but rigid, or different prices for different countries, which is complex but much more effective.
Let's walk through the four main pricing strategies that global companies use.
Okay, the first is penetration pricing.
This is the go-in low strategy.
Exactly. You launch with a low price to grab market share really quickly, often undercutting the local guys. Netflix did this in India with a super cheap mobile-only plan.
What's the risk here?
The big risk is that customers start to see you as the cheap brand. It anchors your quality perception down low, and it becomes almost impossible to raise your prices later without a massive backlash.
Okay, strategy number 2 is the polar opposite.
Price skimming. You start high.
You're targeting the early adopters, the tech lovers who will pay a premium to have the newest thing.
Apple is the absolute master of this. The new iPhone comes out at a very high price, and then over time the prices of the older models come down to capture different segments of the market.
What's the danger of skimming on a global scale?
The biggest risk is regulatory backlash, or creating a gray market. If the price in Brazil is the equivalent of $500 more than in the US because of taxes, customers will just buy it online from the US and have it shipped. That hurts your local partners.
Number 3 is the most basic: cost plus pricing.
Super simple. You figure out your cost to make and ship the product, and you add your desired profit margins, say 25%.
IKEA uses this.
They do. It's straightforward, and it guarantees you make a profit on every sale. But
But it completely ignores what the market will actually bear.
exactly, you might be leaving a ton of money on the table in a market where people are willing to pay more. Or you might price yourself out of a market that's very price sensitive.
And the fourth strategy.
Value-based pricing. This isn't about your costs. It's about what the customer believes the product is worth.
It's based on the value of the solution you're providing.
Right. If your software saves a company $1 million a year, you can charge a lot for it, even if it costs very little to deliver. You have to clearly communicate that value, that 10x return.
But this must be risky in places where intellectual property isn't well protected.
Very risky. If a local competitor can just copy your high-value product and sell it for a fraction of the price, your whole strategy collapses.
Beyond these big strategies, there are so many cultural nuances to pricing.
Oh, absolutely. Psychological pricing is a big one.
In the West, we're used to seeing prices that end in 0.99 or 0.95.
It suggests a deal, but that doesn't work everywhere. In Japan, for example, prices that end in 0 or 8 are preferred.
And in China, the number 8 is considered lucky, right? Associated with wealth.
Right, so you'll see prices ending in 8, but you'll almost never see a price with the number 4 because it sounds like the word for death.
It seems like such a small detail, but it can make a real difference.
You can erode trust if you get it wrong.
And finally, you have the unavoidable reality of tariffs and regulations.
These are not small details. They are major cost drivers. Import taxes, environmental compliance costs, meeting specific safety rules. All of that has to be baked into the final price.
Which brings us back to what we discussed in the pestle section.
It all connects. These regulations are often the very reason a company decides to manufacture locally, to get around those tariffs and control their final price.
Okay, let's move from the theory to the proof. The sources provide some fantastic recent case studies of globalization in action, focusing on Korean brands leveraging the Hallyu wave.
This is where we see how the playbook really works in the wild.
First up, K-beauty in Kazakhstan.
It's a fascinating market. The cosmetics market there grew by 71% since 2020. And the local consumers, especially Gen Z and millennials, were already primed for the K-beauty message of natural, gentle products.
So the strategy wasn't just to ship some products, they tapped into the culture.
They did. They leveraged the popularity of K-dramas and K-pop to position the beauty products as part of a larger, desirable lifestyle.
And they do it with these really interesting experiential events.
Wish Company, the parent of the brand Claire's, created these events with game-like booths modeled after the Netflix show's challenges, but with beauty-focused twists.
That's brilliant. It's interactive, it's fun, it's perfect for social media.
It drove huge engagement and massive social amplification from local influencers. It was a pure psychographic play.
Next, K-pop in Latin America. The growth there is just staggering.
It is. Mexico streamed 3.5 billion K-pop tracks in 2023 alone. But to succeed, the companies had to overcome some major local hurdles.
The first being cultural.
Of course. The K-pop idols learned to greet fans in Spanish. They release content in Spanish. It creates this immediate personal connection. It builds intense loyalty.
But the second adaptation was about infrastructure, about getting paid.
This is a critical point. The sources note that only 26% of people in Mexico even use credit cards.
So if you only accept credit cards online, you're locking out 3/4 of your potential market.
You are. So they had to enable alternative payment methods, including letting fans pay with cash at local convenience stores. That is deep localization.
And they're showing real commitment, right? The big agencies are setting up local subsidiaries there.
That's right. It shows they're in it for the long haul, ready to handle the complexities of local music rights and distribution.
Let's talk about a giant. Samsung in Latin America. They already dominate. With a 33% market share, how do they stay on top?
Through incredibly smart, localized marketing that focuses on sociocultural engagement.
Like the hashtag #DomShare campaign in Brazil.
Exactly. They invited Samsung users to share creative snippets of their own lives. It shifted the brand's positioning from just being about tech specs
Functional positioning.
to being about celebrating local youth culture. That's experiential.
And their influencer campaigns, like hashtag Fold in Love for the Galaxy Z Flip.
A perfect example of targeted behavioral marketing. They didn't just show the product. They showed trusted, local voices using the product in their everyday, relatable lives. That's how you create desire.
Finally, let's look at K-food in Southeast Asia.
K-food is a global phenomenon, but Southeast Asia presented a unique set of cultural and religious challenges.
The most important adaptation being
Securing halal certification. To serve the massive Muslim consumer base in countries like Indonesia and Malaysia, this was non-negotiable.
and the financial return was huge. Samyang Foods projected $270 million in halal product sales in 2023.
It's a perfect case of pestle analysis, the sociocultural and legal factors driving a core product adaptation.
And beyond that, they also focused on consumer education.
This was key. They ran festivals, created YouTube tutorials, and published recipes in local languages to teach people how to actually use ingredients like kimchi and gochujang in their own cooking.
They weren't just selling a product, they were bridging a knowledge gap.
That's how you create repeat customers.
Okay, let's do our deepest dive on the company that really seems to have mastered this. COSRX.
A fantastic case study. Their core identity is so clear. Maximum good ingredients, minimum harmful ingredients. It's a functional, value-based positioning that has served them incredibly well.
And their first stroke of genius was their use of Amazon.
Yes. They understood that Amazon wasn't just a store, it was a marketing platform. They used SEO, they managed reviews, they did whatever it took to get that bestseller badge.
Which gave their snail mucin essence massive global visibility.
And that visibility was supercharged by their viral marketing. The #SlapSnail challenge on social media.
Aimed right at Gen Z.
It was playful, it was authentic, and it generated hundreds of millions of views. It drove sales so fast that the product actually sold out.
Their product development is also data-driven.
Completely. They launched the RX line of stronger serums because they were analyzing customer reviews from around the world and saw a clear demand for stronger ingredients. They listened and they delivered.
But let's talk about their influencer strategy because it's unique. They built this micro-influencer army. Why did that work so much better than just hiring a few huge celebrities?
It's all about authenticity.
People trust smaller creators more.
They do. Global consumers are getting very skeptical of huge paid celebrity ads. But when a smaller creator they follow and trust genuinely loves the product, it feels real. It feels relevant. And that authenticity delivers a much better return on investment.
And their country-specific strategies in Southeast Asia are just textbook localization.
They are. They didn't just have one strategy for the whole region. They went market by market.
So in Indonesia, with its high halal sensitivity,
They focused on total ingredient transparency.
in Vietnam, where the sun is strong,
They pushed their aloe soothing sun cream and a non-sticky cleanser. They adapted the sensory experience of the product to the local climate. That's geographic segmentation at its finest.
and in the Philippines, where skin trouble is a major concern.
They concentrated on their exfoliating AHBA Shea line. And it worked. They became the #1 skincare brand on Shopee Philippines.
That level of detail, adapting the focus down to the specific ingredient and texture for each market. That's it. That's globalization in action. Global brand, hyper-local execution.
This deep dive has really shown that you can't just bulldoze your way into the global market with one product. Success comes from surgical precision, backed by a lot of data.
Let's quickly recap the core takeaways, the playbook you can use for any global challenge. First, success is all about the globalization balance. Keep your core brand consistent to save money, but adapt the features, the language, and even the payment methods to fit local needs.
Second, the SCP framework is non-negotiable. Use all 4 types of segmentation to make sure you're talking to the right customer in the right place with the right message.
Third, research is mandatory. Use Pestle to map the entire landscape and use AI tools to base your decisions on real-time facts, not old assumptions.
And fourth, pricing is local and strategic. You have to adjust your prices for local incomes, competitors, and even cultural preferences for certain numbers. That's how you unlock that 2 to 7% profit increase.
We've seen how the best brands do it. From the scale of Samsung to the surgical detail of COSRX, they succeed not by ignoring local complexity, but by embracing it.
That's the key.
So, to wrap up, here is the final thought we want to leave you with, building on the success of the Hallyu wave we've discussed. If Korean brands have used their culture, the food, the music, the tech, the beauty, as a launchpad for global success, what under-leveraged cultural export or passion point from your own local environment could do the same?
What's the unique food or music or craft or lifestyle from your own backyard that the world needs to experience next?
That could be the foundation for the next truly globalized success story.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We hope you feel better informed and ready to master the global market.
Until next time.